STI custom.
Hey,
Right on point. Checking my hair's perfect.
Where,
It's like they had a live feed before we started. It's exactly what I was doing. Where's Michael? I can hear him, but I can't see him. What's going on?
there he is.
Hey! He's not talking to me.
where am I? Hey, there I am. Hey. Oh man, I'm getting feedback in these earphones. This is a little crazy.
Yes, that is the downside of not having a full setup here. Our full setup is somewhere hopefully between Sydney and here. We shifted some things back, and we haven't got them all.
Ah, this looks pretty good though. This is pretty swish. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm
This
still
looks very
stuck in the
official.
luggage.
Michael hasn't made it back.
They forgot to bring me. I'm stuck in Sydney, twiddling my thumbs, waiting for the pickup.
Yeah, what a place. So how was it? What did you think, Michael? You know, the conference.
I thought it was pretty good. I had a ball on the Monday night. Don't know about you guys, but it was a lot of fun to be had. I thought some of the conversations were really good. Some of the talks. Remind me, third guy along was
Headley
what's his
Widdop?
name? Headley's one I thought Headley was great because he was educational, but he was also entertaining. So I thought Headley took Speaker of the Night.
I did say to
he did
Ruben,
really well.
I got the impression that he would slot in very nicely on a Friday live stream as one of the lads.
Yeah, I thought he did really, really well, and his stuff was spot on. Talking about miners and all of that sort of stuff. So I thought he did well. But the whole evening was great. We had a lot of good audience participation, a lot of good questions there. And then afterwards, I don't know what you guys thought about it, but I thought the conversations continued nicely, rolled through the evenings until we were unceremoniously evicted from Crown.
Yeah, look, it was probably a 3-part eviction, if I'm honest. They said politely, we're trying to wrap up now, guys. Then they turned the lights on, and then they rolled out security, and they said, no, we really need to get you out, guys.
And then it was, oi, pop it.
Yeah, I think they recognised me from their list.
I don't know, what did you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was a really well-attended event, and it's nice anytime you put on an event like that. And I said, historically, when we did the world tour, it was nice to have comparatively intimate events where everyone got a good chance to have a proper one-on-one with each of us. And I was a little apprehensive about how it might go with having such a large room and full. I didn't notice any empty seats at all. It was a really big event, and I wasn't sure how that would translate into our style of presentation, but it was really good. And also, as I'd hoped, having different voices up there and different perspectives, it was just really interesting to see. And I think it's maybe Ruben and I have a unique perspective because we're always doing this sort of thing with you speaking. So it's very surreal to see you up there on a panel like that and hearing you as just one of 4 perspectives. It was really cool. I was very impressed, and I thought you did really well as well. We haven't, for those that don't know, we actually haven't had a debrief. We haven't seen each other since Monday, so you're getting a bit of a live debrief as we go.
Like I said, I'm still stuck in a suitcase somewhere.
That's right. So if there's anyone that was at the event in the chat, please let us know what you thought. I hope you had a good time.
Recognising a few names there, so thank you to everyone that turned up on the night. Oh no, we had a good time, and it sounds like from a couple of the comments that are coming through that you guys did as well. So glad to hear it.
And that's half the fun of the live in-person events, is getting and it's always at the end of the conversation that they say, oh, by the way, I'm so and so on YouTube, and all of a sudden it all makes sense.
Yeah, it was great to meet more of the Bullion Now family. There's a lot of people came up and introduced themselves, and Some that stuck around for the whole evening. Some had to take off early, but it was great to, like you said, you kind of put that face to the name or face to the questions even, and you can broaden out some of those. You can only go so deep on live chats and phone calls and things like that, or comments on YouTube. But to actually get that chance to start drilling down and going, oh, all right, okay, well, that's why you're asking these sorts of questions. Now I can actually give you a more reasoned answer as to why, we either agree with what we've been saying the whole way along, or actually, I know with one person, I kind of went, no, hang on, everything I've said, ignore. We need to work backwards and start again, because I had the complete wrong end of the stick sort of thing. So, it was really good. I really appreciated everyone that showed up and supported us. We threw quite a lot of effort, despite several issues that were occurring at the same time. We threw a lot of effort behind. It's always comforting when it's worth it, when you sit on the other side and say, well, okay, there was 400 odd people there, and there was a lot of support and a lot of positivity and a lot of good questions. A couple of times, which was really good. It gave us a chance to push out a little bit and have some more in-depth discussions. And sometimes with these sort of things, you can feel like you're talking into an echo chamber. So it was actually really good to get that pushback and say, actually, I don't agree for these reasons. That level of support there, I think it's great. I'd hate to throw one of these things on and, no one shows up. You kind of, that would be gutting. I'm just trying to catch up on some of the comments.
Oh, good to see you're paying attention. I've got no idea. I can't keep up.
It looks like there's a few people in the chat who are actually there. So a few people like the shirts. Hey.
They were here. Special thanks to Bailey and Con, who were. It was, what do you say that's beyond run off your feet? I've never seen Con in such a state, and Bailey did a fantastic job as well of maintaining composure and distributing the shirts in an orderly manner. So special mention to the excellent work they did of holding down the fort. I did my best to help out, but I'll be honest, I ended up off to the side shaking hands and kissing babies. So well done to both of them.
It was good to see. They just kept smiling and chugging along, they got it all done, which was fantastic. So excellent. It looks like, Rubes, there's a couple of technical comments in the chat about sound and stuff like that. You will have to excuse us today. We are, as Ruben said right at the start, in all seriousness, quite a lot of our gear is stuck in Sydney. I don't know, Matt, can you give us an update? Did they eventually pick it up?
Yeah, that's probably one we'll have a bit of a debrief after the stream, Michael. That's a, wowee,
right.
For an organisation the size and scale of Crown. I'm telling you, Michael, I'm on a list. I'm on a do not assist list.
Great, so I'm going to be stuck in this suitcase for weeks. Am I being sent all around the countryside?
I think so. So who knows? Well, fingers and toes crossed. Next Friday live stream, we might have all our gear together, but I'm not going to make any promises.
So we apologise for any technical difficulties we may be having. It's a bit of a mad scramble trying to use band-aids and sticky tape. I think Ruben's been running around trying to get it all together.
And here we are. I'm impressed. I think this looks great. Get ourselves a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Put up a poll. Is this a good stream? Ruben's a wreck. I don't think I just seen one tear roll down his cheek.
He wasn't real happy a little while ago when I was talking to him.
Business as usual. I've got a question for you, Michael, and I suspect it'll possibly come through in the chat at some point regardless, but since we're here, I saw a couple of videos on YouTube of a number of coin dealers over in the US having their bank accounts shut down seemingly arbitrarily, but they would just receive a like a registered letter from their bank saying that we've decided to invoke the clause in your bank account contract that states we can shut down your account effectively without explanation and without a great deal of warning. So you've got 30 days to set up a new bank account. Good luck. What do you make of that?
I don't actually know how to answer this question. It's a reality of the industry we work in, unfortunately. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when. We all know we're going to be debanked at some point. We all try and have plans in place for when it happens. The plans very rarely work out the way or as smoothly as we hope they are going to. But it is what it is. Look, at the end of the day, a bank can choose not to deal with you if they wish, and there's really no recourse on it. We fight very hard to keep a good relationship, as good a relationship as we can with our bank. We're as open as we can be, but we know, and it's come close a couple of times, where they've knocked on the door and said, hey, we're reviewing your account. And instantly my blood pressure goes up several notches and the grey hairs come out and all that sort of stuff, because they can literally and have done. We are one of the few bullion dealers in Australia that hasn't been debanked yet at some time or another. It's just a reality of operating in this industry, and it's a terrifying reality. It's probably the thing that keeps me up at night most.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting
your question
stuff.
or not, or just
yeah, it does.
or
Well,
just muddies the water even more.
It's not a question so much as just an interesting point of conversation, I suppose, because seeing that, and there was one video in particular, someone in the comments has mentioned Sherry from T the Silver Stacker's channel, and she commented on it and had that experience a few months ago. But more recently, there was another gentleman whose name escapes me, who just did a piece to camera talking about it and about the fact that he'd never had any issues previously and he does everything by the book, and it had really rattled him. He was visibly very distressed by it, and it just seems like a tremendous amount of stress that something like that would put on someone, particularly when you're also in the process of running a business. It's not the type of thing where you could easily take off, 2-3 weeks just to sit down and figure out how to set up a whole new account, communicate that to your entire customer base. It's very concerning stuff.
Yeah, it's horrific. I can't explain how sorry, my phone's going off. I can't explain how stressful it actually is. It's any contact from the bank concerns me. I know I can't talk too widely about it, but we had an incident with the bank on Tuesday, which is what delayed me getting to the conference on Tuesday. And that took a couple of hours to sort out. And I was freaking out, the whole way through it, because I knew that at the snap of a finger, they could say, look, this is all too hard, just close your accounts and go away. And look, from the bank's perspective, and I'm certainly not here to defend the banks in any form along those sort of ways. They're big boys, they can do it themselves. But the government has made it, both within Australia and within the US as well, and pretty much around the world, the governments have made it the bank's responsibility to make sure that we are doing the right thing. So they have to allocate fairly large resources to businesses like us to make sure that we're doing the correct thing. We're ticking the right box. We're doing the right thing by our customers, by gathering their details and source of funds and all that sort of stuff. So the bank is liable for our actions. So if you're an executive of a bank, you can say, well, hang on a sec. The risk that we're facing by keeping this one business on the books is far too great for us for the return that we get from them, because we are a high turnover business. So they don't get to sit on large sums of our cash, putting it on the overnight market and having it out there, because we might drop $1 million in the bank and 30 minutes later, the $1 million comes straight back out and goes straight to the likes of the Perth Mint and places like that to pay for our stock. So we're a high risk to them. It takes a lot of their resources. They, I don't know exact numbers, but if they had to allocate one person, even a part-time person, to monitor and keep in contact with us and make sure we're doing the right thing, they could actually get rid of our one account that they don't make a lot out of, and they could allocate that resource to, 100 other customers, and make far more money out of them. So, it's a lot of onus on the banks. It's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of cost on the banks. So while I don't like it, and while it freaks me out every time, I get why they don't like us, and I get why they do everything they can to unload us, and move us on to be someone else's problem. Yes, Fanta, we do have a backup just in case. I desperately hope like crazy that I never have to enact the backup, because I honestly, to say that I've got a backup in place is one thing. To actually enact it is a whole new nightmare, and I really don't want to have to do it. I'd far rather just keep the relationship we've got with our bank and have everything go along swimmingly the way it has for the last 5 years or so. I don't want it to. I don't want to have to do the backup plan, but it is there if we do have to enact it.
Oh, very good. Good to know. I didn't actually know that we had a backup. That was going to probably be one of my other questions at some stage. That was something that was highlighted in the video that I was referring to. And in that instance with Sherry, the coin shop owner, she said that she had just set up a secondary bank account as a just-in-case policy, and it was very shortly thereafter that she needed to make use of it. So, yeah, you always got to have a plan A, plan B, and a plan C with things like these, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, and from a customer's perspective, the banks aren't likely to flick a switch and say, this account no longer works. So it's not like you have to worry that your payment is going to get lost in the system because the bank account is all of a sudden closed without notice. They do give us, not that I've had to, as I said, walk through it, but I know from having conversations with my compatriots in the industry, they do give you a few weeks' notice to get everything, to telegraph it out there and make sure that everyone knows that, as of this date, this new bank account is enacted, and these are the new details you've got to use and that sort of stuff. So don't panic thinking, I've made this this order over the phone, or I've made this order online and I've sent the payment. I hope it gets there, because it invariably it will. But it's certainly something we're very, very aware of, and as I said, we've got the contingency plan in place, including what we hope is sufficient communication for people.
All right, enough bank talk. Let's talk bullion. Have you got any hot releases coming up, Michael? What's the latest? Any word on any copper bars or anything like that?
As it so happens, Ads sent me a message just before I came online to say that the copper bars have arrived.
Really?
So we have them. I haven't seen them because I'm stuck in this suitcase somewhere between Sydney and Melbourne. But yeah, as soon as they let me back over the border and back into Melbourne, we will do an unboxing and we will release them to the wider world. So stand by. Hopefully early next week, they will hit the airwaves, and we'll have the copper bars in stock and available for purchase, which I'm really excited to see. Actually, I haven't actually seen them in real life. I've only seen pictures and that type of thing. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing them and handling them in real life.
Well, might be I don't know how across the copper world you are, but with gold being twice the density of silver, where does copper find itself on that spectrum? Like a kilo of copper, how's that going to compare to a kilo of gold or silver volume-wise?
You put me on the spot when going back to my Year 12 chemistry 1,000 years ago. I'm fairly sure copper is less dense than both of them, so I'm expecting the bars to be bigger than both of them.
Oh, nice. Oh, I look forward to seeing them. Hopefully, yeah, well, that shouldn't be too far off then if it's next week.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it should be next week. Now, look, and I've been saying this for a number of weeks now, just be aware that the premium on them is not going to be a small amount. I don't know the exact numbers right off the top of my head, and I'd be lying if I said I would, but it wouldn't shock me if you couldn't buy copper pipe at Bunnings cheaper than you can buy a kilo bar of copper from Bullion Now, because I'm anticipating them being somewhere around about that $70 a kilo mark, which if you compare it, honestly, I don't know what the spot price on copper is. I'm assuming it's somewhere around that $15 to $20 mark, which makes it an insane premium over and above it. But it is what it is, you know. The masses have spoken and they wanted the copper bars, so we're providing them.
Yeah, I always get the impression, Michael, that you're always talking it down and trying to manage expectations, but you're right, the people have spoken. They want the bars, you've provided the bars, everyone's excited. I'm excited, I can't wait to see them. You've got nothing to worry about. They're going to be a smash hit, and if it's anything like any of the other Germania products that we've seen, they will be very well packaged and present immaculately. And we're probably, and you've highlighted it in the past, we're getting into that, or we're well and truly into the collector territory with bars like that. So I think people by now should be well aware that this isn't the type of thing that we would probably encourage you to stack in massive bulk. It's probably the kind of thing that you would have, you know, one or two of just as a point of enjoyment in your stack or collection.
Yeah. Look, we've said many times that copper is one of those ones, probably right up there with uranium, where if I was going to stack that as an investment, I would be doing it on a paper level. I would not be doing it physically, because the space that it's going to occupy, to get yourself a decent amount for an investment, particularly, and again, I don't know what spot is, but let's just assume for a moment it's $20 a kilo. Even if you want $1,000 investment, which, you know, let's face it, in the grand scheme of things, you know, when you talk super funds or when you talk, you know, people putting away a larger amount, you know, $1,000 investment is not huge. You're still talking 20 kilos of silver just in that, 50 kilos of copper is what I was trying to say then. You know, you're going to have to stick away if you could pick it up at spot price. So it's a huge amount. You know, 50 kilos is not something that you carry around in your pocket. So, you know, if you really want to take a serious stake in copper, my suggestion is that you do it through paper, unless you have an excessive amount of storage facilities available to you. But if you want a copper bar that looks really cool, and, you know, you want that investment in copper, and you are leaning into that numismatic side, I know from a very brief look on eBay the other night, I was quite shocked that these bars that I'm quoting $70 for, I think they're selling for well over $100 on eBay, which just spins my dials. But yeah, you're starting to move into that more collector numismatic range rather than just I'm stacking purely for, you know, I want the best bang for my buck sort of thing.
Which I find to be very interesting and sort of ironic. Is when you go into the lesser valued metal, that's when we start to get a little more excited about potential collectability value. It sort of feels counterintuitive, but everyone watch this space. Wait until we see these bars. We'll give a genuine and honest reaction when they do finally get unboxed. We'll see what we think of them.
Yeah. But let's face it, you know, 3 times the premium on a $20 bar is, you know, most people go, oh, you know, it's expensive, but, you know, it's certainly, I could fit it in the budget. Whereas if you went 3 times 3 times spot price for premium on an ounce of gold, you know, that's going to make everyone go, are you kidding me? You know, like now we're talking 7, 8, no, we're talking, what are we talking, 9, 12 grand for something. You know, like it's certainly doable on a bar, or more doable on a bar of copper than it is on a bar of gold.
I've got a general question for you. I'm feeling very inquisitive, Michael, and I'd like to enter a discussion that we should preface with being specifically not financial advice, but hypothetical scenario discussion. And the hypothetical scenario that I would like to discuss or just get your take on is if someone were looking at beginning their stacking journey in something like, let's say, silver, for instance, and they're just starting out, do you think that to begin with, that someone would be better off investing, making regular acquisitions at intervals. So let's say, for instance, let's buy a couple of ounces per week over an extended period of time, or to wait a few weeks or a few months and then wait and buy something like a kilo bar at extended intervals?
There's a couple of answers here. One is if you're just starting out, I'd suggest getting something, anything. So if your budget for a start out is $100, then just buy yourself a couple of ounces of silver, recognizing that this is just me easing into this. I want to get hold of some silver. I want to get it in my hot little hands, just so I've got it. It's a new, exciting investment, and I can show my family, and I can bury it in the backyard, and I can find a hidey hole for it, and I can look at it each night and go, wow, and I can throw it on the bed and do a Scrooge McDuck and dive into it, and all those things that we always do when we first start out in this stacking line. Once you've kind of got over that initial enthusiasm, then you need to start looking at which direction am I going to go, and that will change over time. But am I going to be I want the best bang for the buck, I want the most metal I can possibly get hold of, or do I want to get a variety? Do I want to get different size coins? Do I want to get different size bars? Do I want to specialize in 1966 50-cent pieces, or do I want to specialize in collecting kookaburras or something along those sort of lines? Because that's going to lead you down the path of, do I want to save up for that kilo bar and then buy it in one bang? Or do I want to just spread it out as I can afford it? Or do I want to say, well, look, I've got 100 grand, and you and I have talked about this at length. Do I want that 100? I've got 100 grand that I want to drop in. Do I go into the panic and spend that 100 grand today? Or do I say, well, I'll spend 20 grand this week, 20 grand next week, and then I'll take a break for a couple of weeks, then I'll buy another 20 grand, and I'll mix it up amongst other sizes and shapes of silver. So it depends. There's a few correct answers here. The other one I'd suggest, though, is if you're on a smaller budget, as we all know, the bigger you go, whether you're buying precious metals, gold, silver, or whether you're buying sugar at the supermarket, the bigger you go in size, the cheaper it becomes on a per ounce, per gram, per kilogram basis, depending on what you're looking at. But it gives you less options. So, back to the old kilo bar of gold, if you've got a kilo bar of gold and you need a quick 5 grand, you can't hack the corner off it and bring that in and sell it, because you've just wrecked the bar totally and you're only going to get scrap metal prices for it. With silver, we say that the kilo is the sweet spot. You go below a kilo in size, the premium massively increases. You go above a kilo, it does get cheaper, but it doesn't get massively cheaper. So my suggestion is, if you're on a tight budget, that you get involved in something like, and this is a shameless plug, but it doesn't necessarily make it wrong, you get involved in something like Bullion Now's Unallocated program. If you're going to go somewhere, go into Unallocated, make sure it's a physically backed Unallocated program. It's not paper backed or promissory backed. It's actually backed by physical metal, as the Bullion Now one is. It's not the only one out there. I'll be straight out right from the start. Perth Mint runs a very good one, and there are sure to be other organisations around the world that do as well. But you then just put away, you buy an ounce every week, every fortnight, every month. Every time you've got that, you're usually paying, with Bullion Now, you pay spot price. I can't speak on behalf of other companies, but you're now just locking in at a spot. So you're not actually paying any premium at all. So you're not suffering from that buying small amount, paying large premium issue. You keep buying these 1 ounce lots for several weeks until you build up somewhere close to that kilo bar in total raw weight, and then you convert that unallocated into a physical kilo bar, and then all you're paying is that small premium, I don't know, whatever it is at the moment, 60, 70 bucks over spot for that kilo bar, rather than buying it in 1 ounce lots, paying $10 an ounce over spot for premium at that point, and ending up paying $320 for a kilo of silver over spot with all that premium. They're the different ways I'd come at it. If I had that small amount that I wanted to invest, but I was stacking over the longer term, I would plug into an unallocated program, save up a kilo of spot price in that unallocated program, and that way if spot varies during that time, you're not getting caught out by it. But if you've got the money in the bank and spot doubles while you're saving up your $1,200 for your bar, you've now got to add more to it. Whereas if you've been buying spot along the way, it's not going to impact you quite as much. So that's what I would do if I was in that position.
Yeah, it's a very good explanation. And McDuncan Presents, how you going, mate? Good to see you in the chat. I feel like it's been a little while. A very good question there. Can you give an explanation of dollar cost averaging? So I feel as though in part of your explanation just there, Michael, you've sort of touched on it, and it's something that is a very useful tool. And once you understand it, it actually makes a lot of sense. And it's something that I have really enjoyed doing along my precious metals journey. And it effectively, if you envision, let's say 1 year of stacking as a journey, if you were to plot each of your purchases on that chart, and let's say that they were on we'll say for this example, we'll say a weekly basis. If you make precious metals acquisitions, and for the ease of the story, we'll say that you're buying 1 ounce of silver a week over a year, and as a result you have 52 individual purchases. And if you were to plot those on a chart, you would see various purchase prices. And what the term dollar cost averaging is effectively drawing a line straight through all of those and getting the average price. And so by the end of it, you may have made some acquisitions at 40 Australian dollars per ounce, 50, 60, so on. It can be, as we know, the price fluctuates on a daily basis many times, and as a result, by the end of it, you can actually work out what your average purchase price is. So what it does, and what it's done for me, it's alleviated some of the stress isn't the right word for it, but perhaps frustration when I make purchases based more on emotion than logic, which I'll be the first guy to put my hand up and say that a lot of my purchases are based largely on emotion, and there are times when that can relate to spot price going up, and I get that the infamous FOMO, or fear of missing out, thinking that I need to make a move now because the price seems to keep going up, and I need to jump on while it's still rising. And as a result, if you are making, and again, this is not financial advice, this is just one gentleman's story, making purchases at regular intervals and then reflecting on it, and if you're really organized, writing that information down and actually processing that in a thoughtful manner and working out an average buy-in price can allow you to make an informed decision, also if and when it comes to selling your stack. Dollar cost averaging is a concept that's not limited to the acquisition process. A lot of people employ that as part of their strategy when they are liquidating or selling portions of their stack. So similarly, some people might have a price in mind that they would like for spot to be, and at that point they're happy to liquidate all of their holdings, and that's totally fine. And there are some people that prefer to do that in a staged process, and they will average their way out of some of their holdings. So I hope that is an adequate explanation, McDuncan. And once again, good to see you, mate.
I hate to break it to you, Matt, but you're the only one that suffers from FOMO.
I thought that might have been the case. It's because I always hear about things late. Even this stream, I didn't even know you were going to be here, Michael. I was wandering around. I thought, geez, Ruben and I, what have we got to chat about? Geez, we're going to have to figure something out on the spot, but here we are.
Hey, modern technology from inside a suitcase, I'm telling you.
It's incredible.
There's a couple of good questions come through while you've been chatting. Ruben took me off the focus of the camera, so I'd actually could look sideways at the chat and actually get some of the questions off there. There's a few comments about the fact that unallocated is good because it stops you from, I don't know if you have this problem, but I certainly have this problem where if I have cash sitting there, I'll go, oh yeah, but I'll just use a bit of it and I'll just waste it on this or I'll waste it on that. I'll top it back up later, honest I will, and you never do. So whereas if you've already purchased it in the unallocated, it kind of locks that purchase in, and you don't tend to waste it quite so frequently. The other problem with unallocated is a little bit of what Matt's talking about with the FOMO, where you buy it and then Bullion Now comes out with this brand new X, and you go, oh wow, I've got some unallocated. I won't use it for the kilo bar. I'll just get a few of those. I'll top it up later, honest. And that is the downside of unallocated, is that it allows you to take advantage of some of these specials and interesting items that we bring in at different times. Speaking of which, we actually have hard information on the super pit, if anyone would like to know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
Literally, as I was getting ready for the live stream, Perth Mint sent through an email to me to say, here is your allocation for the super pit. Release date is, let me call it up so I don't lead anyone astray. Release date is, drum roll please, of course the screen closes when I need it, 26th of September 2023. So obviously Treasury has taken the big hint from Matt, and it's been heckling them quite a bit, and has actually got their backside into gear, and they have released the super pit from Treasury, and that will be released to the wider world on the 26th of September 2023.
BDK, you've taken the words out of my mouth. Can we see it?
Not till the 26th of September 2023.
Oh, so that's embargo, or is that the release date?
It's both.
Oh,
so release date. I don't like it when they do this, but they've got release date, embargo date, and product availability date all on the 26th of September. So we can't even, technically, we can't even take pre-orders on it, which does my head in. Particularly as this one, it's the same as always. They only produce 100,000 of them, an excessive amount of which, 95%, head straight overseas. That's on the silver one. There's the gold. Actually, I can't remember what the production limit is on the gold 1 ounce. I'll tell you in a second. Is 5,000. So very, very limited releases, the vast majority of which end up going overseas. And on the super pit, they also do the 5 ounce gold. And I believe that's limited to 500, but give me a second. Yeah, 500. So it's, I don't like it when we can't do pre-orders on these things, and we can't kind of help people to get as many out there as we possibly can, and spread the love around as much as we can. It's going to be one of those not free-for-alls, but it's going to be very limited, and it's going to be hard work yet again, and we're going to cop a bit of grief over it. But and they won't be in on time. I'll guarantee dollars to donuts that they don't show up on the right day. So it's going to be another one of those.
So perhaps sometime late October, maybe November, we will see the physical super pits in store.
No, it should be earlier than that. I expect it. Look, release date, I'm assuming it's a Monday, but I haven't looked it up. So release date is the Monday. I would anticipate them landing on our door within a week of the release date. They're usually fairly good in getting them to us a week late, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, well, that'll be good. I'm looking forward to seeing a new release. We've been talking about this one for a little while, amongst other potential exclusives for Bullion Now, of which I haven't heard any further news. Oh,
you want the hot gossip on that as well, do you?
Oh, since you're on a bit of a roll.
The Matt coin, the quokka. I have tentative release information for October for that one. So I can't give you an exact date. I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere around about that mid-October. They're usually 3 to 4 weeks behind the other one. So sometime mid to late October, we will see the quokka, according to what the Perth Mint told me this afternoon.
Oh, perfect. This is exciting. I feel like there's a little more coming down the pipes now. We're getting a little bit of actual information rather than vague, sometime later in the year type of information. The only thing we need now is a change of effigy and we'll have everything we're after.
Actually, I never looked at the flip side of that. Give me a second. Let's have a quick squeeze. Let's see what the effigy is on the back. Okay, no stress. No comment.
No stress. That's stressing me out.
No, look, I'll break the news now. They've gone, which is what we expected. They've gone with the Queen's effigy on it because it is still a 2023 coin. So the Super Pit will have, I can confirm the Super Pit is a Queen's effigy on the back, which everyone anticipated, everyone expected. So there's no shocks there. It'll be interesting to see the Lunar. That's going to be the next one people are going to start hammering us over. We don't have information on the Lunar at this stage. I'm glad that we have the release date. Sorry, I'm just updating my computer here. I'm glad we've got the release date of the Super Pit and a tentative release on the quokka. My concern was that they were going to release them all within about a week. It looks like they're spreading them out. So I would anticipate, and this is based on nothing but me reading tea leaves here, but I would anticipate seeing the Lunar in that early to mid-November range. So start putting away your dry powder for purchasing that if that's on your radar as well, kind of like that early to mid-November. But again, no promises. That is purely me reading tea leaves.
Oh, very good. And I saw an interesting question just roll through from Black Coal. What is the largest coin/bar you could carry or you could have as carry-on for flights? Does airport security challenge you on all coins/bars? That's a good question. Is that something you have had any experience with, Michael?
Funnily enough, I've had that experience in the last week. Look, unless you're going through Hobart, there is no problem anywhere else in the world. You could carry you're limited by your luggage allowance on the airline, but theoretically, there is no limit to the amount that you could carry onto the plane, other than your luggage limits. Getting to the other end is a different matter. You then have to explain why you're bringing in more than, in most cases, in most countries around the world, you have to explain why you're bringing in more than $10,000 worth of cash or cash equivalent into that country. And I found it fascinating that Lynette used the same argument that I use up on stage when we were talking about this, where she said this only has a face value of whatever it was, whatever the coin was that she had. Therefore, when I go through limits at airports, it's a coin. It's a
$20.
It is actually money. I think you're right. I think it was a $20 gold coin. So therefore, even if I have a dozen of these in my luggage, I'm not breaching the $10,000 cash requirement. So I hadn't really heard anyone else talk about that publicly before. So that was interesting.
Absolutely. And speaking of interesting, Con said I should have filmed it. I didn't know if I'd get in. I don't think the airport security would have been thrilled with me filming at the bag check, but I think it was actually his laptop or something that caused the scanner to double check, and they said you have to open up your carry-on bag. And the Perth Mint had their world famous chalky bars at this conference, and Con had managed to snag about 12 of them, and his entire bag was lined with them. And as he opened it up, his face was illuminated. The light was reflecting off the bars, and you could just see his face light up with gold. It was a very impressive sight, but they were more interested in the laptop in his bag.
Oh, that's beautiful. I wish I'd seen it. Yeah, look, they don't care. The problem when you go through airport security, we've talked about this many times, so I'll keep it brief. The problem is that gold and silver are so dense. So on their X-ray, all they get is a black or very dark grey, actually, blob on their screen. I have noticed with the new scanners out of Melbourne and Brisbane, not Sydney, funnily enough. I would have thought they'd do those ones first, but Melbourne and Brisbane particularly, they've got these new scanners in there. They're 3D scanners, and they can actually kind of look around your suitcase and through your suitcase on a 3D level quite easily on the screen. So it's very rare I get picked up going through Melbourne and Brisbane anymore. Sydney still seems to be a sticking point for me. And Adelaide and Perth are still a bit interesting. But I was actually talking to the guys in Brisbane the other day, and they were saying that they're rolling out these new scanners all around the country. So in the near future, it should be even easier to go through, where they really, they don't care. They can isolate the blob they're looking at. They can spin it around, and it seems that they can satisfy their curiosity just from that in the vast majority of cases.
Oh, very good. Good to hear that things may get a little easier. Watch this space.
Except in Hobart.
Exactly. Well, that's a different thing altogether.
Yeah. Look, for people that are kind of still a bit apprehensive about it, if you've got a coin, and I often say to people, if you're just carrying 1 or 2 coins with you, the best place to put them is in your wallet or in your handbag or your purse or something like that, where it just looks like a coin. And that way it doesn't flag any curiosity. But even, let's say you're feeling wealthy this week and you want to carry your 4 kilos of gold on your carry-on luggage through the airport, it will cause them... In Brisbane and Melbourne probably not actually, but the other airports traditionally, it would come up on their screen. They'd say, "Look, excuse me, you've got something in your bag that we'd just like to take a look at. Is that all right?" And you say, "Absolutely, that's fine, but I'd like to go into a private room to open my bag." "No worries, absolutely. Just step over to the side here, and we'll go into the private room." And they all have a couple of little booths off to the side. They are stocked with rubber gloves, but you don't need to panic about that at this stage. You go into the private room, and they'll ask you to open your bag. You open the bag. You hold it open for them so they can see what's in there. At least 50% of the time, either they will ask you to take it out of the bag, or they will reach in and take it out of the bag. And from that point on, it's just, "Ooh, look at this! I've never seen this before. This is great. Fantastic. I didn't know you could buy it." And usually the time now is taken up with them just asking you like innocent questions about how did you get into stacking? And wow, this is fantastic. And I've never seen this before. And wow, this is great. And that's it. And then it goes back in the bag, you zip it up and you're straight out the door. And quite often, particularly as a bullion dealer, it's a 30-second chunk out of my day. Sometimes when I'm taking something like either a lot of gold, or if I'm traveling with something a bit different, like a large coin that's got a face value on it, or an international coin, it might delay me a few minutes while they have this discussion about the coin, not in any sense of confiscation, but in just a curiosity thing. Wow, I've never seen one of these before. And then you're off on your way. So it's people are worried about it, and I can only tell people that it's fine to carry it through. It's the first time you do it, it's very intimidating, and you're very apprehensive. But honestly, it's far more of a... People make it out to be far more of a bigger deal than it actually is.
And it's funny you say that, because I often think it is when you get a little intimidated or nervous about it, and if you're like me and you don't really have a poker face, that's probably what's going to raise their eyebrows more than anything. Is this guy shaking like a leaf in the wind as their bag goes through the conveyor belt? They think, this doesn't seem all right. But yeah, once you're comfortable with it and realize that you're actually not doing anything controversial or out of the ordinary, you generally don't have many issues. But speaking of issues, you wouldn't believe it, Michael. I don't know if you were around at the conference long enough, but Ruben and I were doing a little wandering, and we found a sign at the casino, and I think Ruben might be able to put it up. We lost him.
Yeah, I lost you while it was up.
That's up at Crown. Barangaroo. That sign is legit. No editing. That was fair income, and there might even be some footage of me getting the don't argue from the staff when we wanted to do a little poolside filming at the conference this year. So for all those that were asking, that would we go all the way to Sydney for the conference. You know, Bullion Now sponsors the informative session on Monday night. And the most common question I received was, is there any chance of you doing some poolside filming this year, Matt? So hopefully that sign answers all questions.
Matt, your reputation follows you everywhere, mate.
It's unreal. I'm just trying to talk about, diversification and what have you. And that seems to be the main subject of interest.
I love it. It's fantastic.
Oh, jeez.
Bit of a discussion going on earlier on. I'm going to drag us back to it about safes, and somebody saying, I'm looking at buying a safe. What should I get? What do you reckon, Matt?
Well, it's interesting because when I first started my journey in precious metals, I thought that a safe would be the ultimate, pun intended, safe haven for my precious metals. And I feel very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in and have these regular conversations with someone such as yourself. And I think you've previously highlighted the fact that a safe doesn't necessarily provide you with total security. And if you do find yourself in the unfortunate event where someone has decided that they are going to access your safe with or without your permission, it gives you time more so than total security. So it's something that my view on it has shifted since working here, and particularly since hearing some stories from various people within the industry. It's an interesting one. I do see the value in them, but I have also seen people that have found themselves in positions where they have been victims of targeted attacks due to the fact that they have a safe. So I guess much in the same way of limiting who you discuss your holdings of precious metals with, it's one of those things where you need to bear in mind that who or where you're purchasing a safe from, that information is then available to more people, and you need to be mindful of then the delivery people. So you've bought a safe from a safe company. They are now aware that you have that. There's then a delivery company. Depending on your living arrangements, let's say you live in a busy street or on a main road, if a big truck comes up and a tail lift comes down and there's a big fancy safe getting wheeled into your home, that may be something that you're not necessarily comfortable with. So you need to consider all of the potential implications of something like that when making an acquisition of that nature. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, look, I'm totally on board with what you said, and I would take it further. I'm not a fan of safes. And you're talking to someone who has more than he could poke a stick at, but I don't like them because I know you've got a safe for a reason. I know that I can't get into the safe by myself, so now I'm going to make you open the safe, whether it be me physically threatening you or whether it be me physically threatening a member of your family. To get into it. So if anything, to me, a safe actually increases the risk to some degree. If you're going to have a safe, please tell no one about it and make sure that it is hidden. And I've got to be really careful about what I'm going to say next, but I know of a personal experience where somebody had a safe hidden, and it was inadvertently revealed. I've got to tread very carefully here. It was it was inadvertently seen by by another person, and about a week later, that safe was broken into, and the contents then removed. Safes are a two-edged sword, and I don't like them. The thing that I didn't like even more about that specific situation that I'm mentioning is that the theft was reported to the police, and then the police took an advert in a local newspaper to ask for people's help on it. So not only did the safe get found out, and fortunately no one was threatened over this one, they just took a serious angle grinder to the safe and actually spent several hours cutting into it. But then the police actually advertised that this house is a hotspot for having safes and things that need to be hidden in there. So the whole situation just turned pear-shaped, all because something had to be kept in a safe. So I am not a fan of them. I don't like them. If you're going to get one, get a serious one. Do not get a pretend one from Bunnings. Get an absolutely serious one. Hide it somewhere where it can never be found, and tell no one ever about it.
I think that's a valid point as well. The idea of, and I would probably agree with that, a safe is a sort of all or nothing prospect. If you're going to get a little one from Officeworks, a little one for your knickknacks, you're probably just as you could find yourself in a similar position with a Glad wrap bag and an old Milo tin. Arguably, that would do probably a better job of concealing whatever it is that you've got. And also on the larger safes though, and this is something most people would never have to bear in mind, but I think I've told you this story before, but I don't think I mentioned it on stream. There was it's not super top secret information. So the old Downey store in the Block Arcade, when they relocated that, they had to relocate the safes as well. Now, being a coin store, they had some fairly serious safes. And in the removal process on the dollies or the little trolleys that they had, they managed to destroy the decorative tiles throughout the Block Arcade. No. And I think it ended up costing them more than the safes were worth in damages or whatever the word is, to repair the decorative tile work in the Block Arcade. So if you've got a fancy decorative driveway, factor that into the equation as well.
I got to tell you that when we look at potential, like I'm going back to where we first started BN, all the way through, whenever we look at potential places to house BN, invariably when you talk to real estate agents and that, they'll say, "Oh, I've got the perfect place for you," because the number of offices that have brought a big safe in, and then when the business is closed down or whatever, they just move out and they leave the safe there because it is cheaper to dump the safe there and never move it again than actually trying to move it somewhere else, in almost every circumstance. So there are offices all around Melbourne, all around Sydney, all around Perth, all around Adelaide, all around Brisbane, that are all stacked with these old safes from tenants, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenancies ago, because no one wants to move their safe ever again.
Yep, I think particularly if it's the end of a lease, you're better off. And again, that's also from experience, because the following Downey store, I was part of the closure of that and had similar. It was a barrel of laughs getting the safe out of that store as well. There was a crane involved. It was a full-on circus. I decided that moving forward, the best bet is just to throw a cloth over it and walk away and never speak
of it again. Put a plant on top.
Yeah, put a pot plant on and say, it was like that when we got here.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, dear. I love it.
So what else have we got in the Bullion news? What's the latest? Is there any word? Is there any update on the BRICS conversation that we were having last week?
No, it all kind of fizzled out, the old BRICS. It's look. I think we probably drilled down enough on it last week. It still seriously concerns me. with what they're doing. It has major macroeconomic implications if they bring out this, BRICO, whatever they want to call it, with the amalgamation, or if they do manage to draw in the countries that they made those offers to or accepted the offers from to join the BRICS nations. They're controlling large quantities of the world's reserves of oil and general minerals and resources as well. They're going to push back against the US dollar. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it is going to happen, in 10, 15, 20 years' time. That could, and I'm being a complete doomsday, like serious doomsday here, but that could seriously push us into a serious war scenario, because the Americans will not appreciate their dollar not being accepted as the world currency, and they will do all they can to protect that. So, I hope I'm completely wrong on this. And the chances are, look, let's be completely honest, the chances are I am completely wrong on this. But it concerns me quite a lot, because it'll be in that spectrum, and I think it will be. It really does have the potential to be more on the economically catastrophic side of the equation than the other, if they keep pushing this BRICS nation thing more and more. So stand by on that one and keep the old alert but not alarmed scenario.
Well, watch this space. Bullion Now will keep you up to date each Friday, either via YouTube or Spotify, wherever you tune in from. MP would like to know if there's any update on the Buyback 1/10 ounce gold maples from last week.
Yeah, I thought something was happening with those today, Rubes. I don't think we ever got a chance to sit down and talk about it, did we?
So it looks like we're just working out the pricing on it at this stage. So who knows? That could even be a next week thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually thought we sorted the pricing this morning on that one. I certainly had a conversation with Ads about it. So, yeah, I don't know.
There's also
Stand by.
There's another good question from Black Coal. If regularly buying from BN and utilising the 3 months of free storage, does the 3 months reset from each new purchase? So does it have a piggybacking effect, as it were?
No, not really. Look, we used to, right back in COVID, the problem is that we found people were taking, like, I don't mind people taking advantage of it. I think that's fantastic. But when it gets to a point where people buy 2 or 3 kilos of gold, and then every 3 months they buy themselves a 1 ounce silver kangaroo just to reset for 3 months, it does cost us to store your product. Not just in space, but also in insurance, because we need to make sure that everything is fully insured in that incredibly unlikely event that something did happen. We want to be sufficiently covered. So it started to get to the point of ridiculousness. So we've actually had to wind that back a little bit and say, okay, well, look, it doesn't. You kind of place the order and you can stack things up for the 3 months, that's the reason we designed it. We designed it to be a 3 month thing, so people could, buy a coin a week, a coin every other week, or a bar here and a coin there, and build up a few things, and then either come in once every 3 months or so and pick it all up, or or contact us and get everything shipped out to them. Or during COVID, it just gave people that ability to know that, well, it doesn't matter if the government locks me down well, it does matter, but for your bullion, it didn't matter. You could stay safely in BN storage and they weren't going to charge me an arm and a leg for storing it. I could still make my weekly purchases or, fortnightly purchases or whatever, and it was not an issue. So that's the way it's designed. That's the way we'd like to keep it. So it's there just so you can build up a stack over that 3 month period and then either come in and pick it up or ship it out, or alternatively at that point, you can say, well, actually, I want to keep it with BN. I like the fact that it's stored there securely and it's fully insured and someone else looks after it, in which case we'll say, okay, well, this is the cost to do that. In all honesty, it's as close to cost as we can kind of make it. We're certainly not making any profits out of it. It basically at least 90% of it goes into the cost of the insurance that we have to pay, which is when I say I pay a mortgage every year on our insurance, I literally mean we pay the equivalent of someone's mortgage every year to cover our insurance policy for the stuff that we have in storage and that. So it's not quite a mortgage, but it's not far off. It's a serious amount. So a good chunk of what you're paying goes towards that, and then a very small amount goes towards the fact that we have safe facilities and it has to be administered by a staff member. And so the balance of it goes towards paying for that staff member and buying more storage facilities.
The Metal Inquisitor, I see your question, and I'm going to ask it now. A live auction's coming back soon, Michael. What's the hold up? What's going on?
I think it was just the craziness of leading up into Sydney, and the fact that I'd had some other things that distracted me for a few weeks. But I'm pretty sure that you'll start seeing them within the next, I'd say next week, but certainly within the next week or so, they should start reappearing again.
Very good. So they will still continue. You don't need to panic just yet, Metal Inquisitor. It's something that is going to continue. So watch this space. Now, we had some...
Hang on.
Go on.
I want to drag you back just a second. Is my name too hard to say? He's saying that, in all fairness, Michael, Bullion Now should be alerting the customer and getting them to finalise their purchases at the end of the 3 months. I totally agree with that sentiment. And in fact, that's what we have started to do. Some people will have received their survey that says, basically, we're surveying everyone that has used our storage facility, not just if you've got stuff in storage with us. We're sending out surveys to everyone that has used our storage facility. And we're just asking, make sure that your details are updated. Give us a little bit of feedback. Honestly, if it took you 30 seconds to respond to it, I'd be amazed. So please, if you receive that email, if you could just take 30 seconds out of your life and just give us that. I think it's 3 questions we ask, or 4 questions. It's nothing major, and they're pretty much yes, no's. So if you can do that, that helps us a lot. But that also allows us to make sure everyone's details are updated. And then as of the 1st of October, we will institute this new program of, you get your 3 months. We'll be, up to this point, we haven't been very military about the fact that, your 3 months is up and get it sorted sort of thing. We've allowed people to kind of come and go as they want. But we will actually start enforcing the 3 months. We'll start notifying, hey, you're getting close to your 3 months. What do you want to do? And this is the let us know if you want to continue having it stored here, and we'll send you an invoice for the storage type of scenario. So that is coming very, very soon.
I think Fanta's on the money. It's Treasury interfering. It's just making things a bit convoluted and complicated. But now on to the question that I was going to ask. Drew Murray,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I was trying to ask. Michael
Yes.
kept interrupting me. We had some very swish 100-gram silver bars for this Sydney Showdown Spectacular. What's the setup with those? Are there any left? Are they going to be made available? Was it a limited one-off thing? What's the story?
Look, we only... I don't know. You guys are about to tell me more. I think there was a few left at the end of the conference, wasn't there?
There was indeed.
Yeah, okay. So I reckon we should just get them melted down and destroy them and just let the ones that are out there stay out there.
Oh, so if you were one of the lucky few that managed to get your hands on that is, yeah, I like that. That makes it
brutal.
It is. It's incredibly brutal. That's very out of character for you. It's about time you started to drop the hammer a little more, Michael. Make things rare. They were rare to begin with. Didn't you only have 500 made up in total?
No, we didn't even have time to do that. So I got the manufacturer to make up as many as they could before we left in their spare time. They only made 210 of them was all they had the time to make. I'd said, make as many as you can up to about that 500-ish mark. And like I said, they made 210. And look, I know I just said we're going to have them melted. Honestly, we haven't had the discussion about what we're going to do with them yet. So stand by. I don't honestly know how many we've got left. I know quite a lot of them went on the Monday night, particularly.
Yeah, I think Con can attest that, being the only bloke that brought a laptop with the the sales system on it.
Yeah, he was certainly working pretty hard on Monday night. Yeah, and the poor guys didn't get fed either. They came to me right at the end of the night and said, "Oh, it's just quieting down now. Where's the food?" And it was all gone. I felt really guilty. But anyway, it's a side issue. Look, we will probably release some of them. I don't know. We haven't made that decision.
I think we've got a good way to get a little bit of input, though. Perhaps even a recommendation. There's a tool that we can utilize on YouTube, which Ruben may or may not be tapping into right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a Bullion Now poll. It has been too long. This is good to see. Whoa, the results are coming in thick and fast. And I think it will be heavily skewed based upon whether or not you manage to attend the event and get your hands on one of these exclusive bars. Jeez, the poll's going bananas. We'll let that run for a second. Yeah.
I was going to say it's not. I thought it would be more heavily skewed towards the sell them than the melt them. But I think you're right. I think it's everyone that went and bought one is saying melt them.
People are now just commenting poll in the chat. Yes, thank you. I feel supported. We'll let the poll run for a little while longer yet. But McDuncan Presents also asked what this award was. So,
the Maggie.
Absolutely shattered that it wasn't a back-to-back affair. You should have seen me, Michael. I was spitting chips in the crowd. Con and I turned up. They were announcing the Maggie Award. I did my top button up, had a bow tie on, ready to accept it. Didn't happen back-to-back. But I think we're still immensely proud of our 2022 performance as recipients of the Maggie Award, which is given to a company for their contributions to education and information in the bullion industry. So despite not being back-to-back, we're still very proud of the one that we've received, and we'll continue to do our best to spread the best information possible in the industry.
Who won it? Or shouldn't I ask?
ABC.
What?
That's what I said.
Are you for real? Because I'd actually forgotten clean about it. Because I wasn't at the awards dinner that night. I had to take off. So, yeah. I guess they've got a fancy new store in Sydney.
Yeah, not a single member of staff jumped in the pool or anything spectacular. I don't know what more we can do to make a splash in the industry, Michael. We've tried everything.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So what's their? Yeah, I guess they do some education in the industry. I shouldn't bag them out that much. Just a little. Yeah, I got to say, I was a little surprised.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Live reaction.
That's probably unfair to ABC because they do a lot in the industry. You know, I mean, they're the largest private refiner. They're certainly an absolute good team. I certainly wasn't meaning any ill of them. I was just a little surprised. That's all.
Yeah, there you go. But it was a really nice event. It was actually really good. The whole awards ceremony and things like that. And yeah, Kerry did a great job this year, as she has done. You know, we've only been twice, and I don't know if you've been to other previous events, Michael, but it was a really well organised event, and the award ceremony was a hoot. They had a bit of entertainment, and I don't know if you're familiar with the gentleman. He created the Australia's first national Sudoku team, and it was a ripper story. Con and I were in stitches. It was very entertaining and a very well put together evening. So hats off to Kerry for a very entertaining evening.
Excellent. So look, Kerry and her team do an amazing job up there. And I don't think we express our appreciation enough for them. They really work tirelessly, and we threw a few curveballs to them as well, and they seem to have stood up to the test as well. So look, full marks to Kerry and her team for putting on an excellent event, and for it's not easy. It takes them 12 months to drag that together, and it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So a big round of applause there for Kerry and her team on that one.
Yeah, and super special thanks to her assistant, Lucy. If I didn't get on well with her, I think we would not be allowed back next year with the amount of times I had to hassle her for, for bits and pieces. And yeah, so thank you very much. I can't stress that enough. It was incredibly helpful. And you'll even see some footage that Ruben and I managed to get, which would not have been achievable had it not been for her assistance. So there is some very cool shots coming your way to any of our viewers. But I do have another question here, Michael, which is a very good one from Peter Grace Me Guide. And he wants to know if there's any word on Australia Post banning precious metals to PO boxes as of the 1st of September's? Just one of them. As of the 1st of September, as Perth Mint letters have been sent out. Will this affect BN deliveries?
Okay, you have to separate things out here. The Australia Post in and of itself does not carry precious metals at all. It is against their policy for anyone to send precious metals with their company. So the letters that you're receiving from the Perth Mint will be to do with their, and help me here, Matt, I can never remember their other branch that does their express delivery.
Star Trek.
Star Trek. It's actually Star Trek has, I don't know the intricate details here, but either Star Trek has said no more thanks, or they have lost the contract for delivering the Perth Mint products around Australia. Star Trek is a member of, is fully owned by Australia Post. So you could, with individual contracts, send your product with Star Trek, which is the contract that Perth Mint had. So technically, if you were sending your precious metals via Australia Post as it was, you were actually breaching their policy. And if you read their policy enough, you can actually see it in there. Some of the bullion companies, Bullion Now included in that, did actually have a one-on-one agreement with them. But we're finding more and more that we're being encouraged not to do it anymore is probably the way to word it. And no, Fanta, just to cut Matt off, can Toll send stuff to PO boxes? No, they can't. The PO boxes are owned, or the PO box network is owned by Australia Post, and they won't allow other couriers to deliver to the PO boxes.
Rumour has it, pretend I've got an earpiece in here. I've just had an update from the lads. Is there a special this stream? I don't know if you know anything about this, Michael, but this is news to me. Is this true?
I know there was a couple of things bandied around this morning, but nothing was actually nailed down in concrete. But like I said, I've been hiding in this suitcase for the last couple of days, so I really have no clue what's going on down there.
Break out of your suitcase and break into the special. It is I've just received another update. It's the 1/10th ounce gold maples, and they are a special. I don't know. There's a link. Is it for it's just a straight up purchase link. So there's no form. You don't need to panic about plugging in your details to a form or anything of that nature.
You just crashed the website, guys.
We are also stress testing the website. If it slows down a little bit, stick with it. The special is now up, so maybe I'll contribute to the slowing down of the website so I can have a look and find out what the special price is. $30 over spot. You're joking.
Oh, they did do that. So is there a bulk price on there as well?
If you buy more than 10, they are, for any of our international viewers, this is Australian dollars, $325.24 each at the moment. a mere 400 in stock. So, as I like to say, run, don't walk, and get stuck in. That's a super special. It's been a while since we've pushed the boat out to this extent. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a question before the special came in. I forgot what it was. It'll come to me.
Look, Oz Post, just taking us back to the Oz Post for a second. They're crying poor at the moment. They reckon they're making massive losses because of having to deliver letters and that sort of stuff. So they're trying to cut back. They're trying to trim things up a bit. I actually don't agree. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to
Michael's
get
on
on
his soapbox. Let's go.
Yeah, it is. I think Australia Post was started by the Australian government around about a federation to provide an essential service to the citizens of Australia all around the place. So no matter where you were in the country, you could receive your mail. I lived in the country. In fact, I've lived in the country pretty much all my life. Well, I haven't. I've had excursions where I've had to live in town because of my career that I had prior to this. But certainly growing up, I lived out in the bush, and I still live in regional Australia right now. And the service was it was set up as a service to the citizens, an essential service like roads or like, fire service or anything along those sort of lines. It was never designed to be a profit centre. Now, about 15 years ago, the Australian government decided that they would hive it off into a self-funding profit centre, and they have been gutting it ever since. Australia Post has been paying horrendous dividends to the Australian government for years, and trimming services and trimming services and trimming services, and losing the ideal that it was started with, that it was there as an essential service to deliver letters around the country. Now, yes, we can have the argument that email's taking over, and the average Australian only receives 2.6, I think it is, letters per week in their mailbox, and all that sort of garbage. But at the end of the day, this is an essential service. The fact that you want to make it a profit centre, you are making horrendous amounts of money out of shipping parcels and all that and losing them all around the country. For goodness sake, suck it up. Actually do what you were designed to do, and that is provide that service to Australians that still want to use that service. I think it's disgusting that you're now turning around saying, well, we want to ditch letters, or we want to only deliver letters twice a week, any of those sorts of things. Your service is not that good as it is. Just get on with it and do what you're meant to be doing, and stop trying to squeeze a profit out of every single thing that comes along. That's why we pay taxes, to support things like Australia Post delivering and providing a good delivery service all around the country. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Yeah, very, very well put. Well, and just following on from that, maybe, if you step down off the soapbox, there was a good question from Urban Aerials. And he was saying, is it just me, or has it been ages since the back of the safe sales and things of that nature have gone on the web? The whole bullion industry seems to be very boring the last few months. And that's been a sentiment echoed on some of the Facebook groups and things of that nature. Just observing that it seems to be a bit quiet overall when it comes to I guess you could say, the velocity of stock. There aren't a lot of really interesting and exciting things coming down the pipeline, but is that something that you've also noticed in your position, Michael, or is there still never a dull moment?
If you go back to the start of this chat, on this live stream, it's people commenting about Bullion Now bringing out too many things and how they're having to, spend all their money on all the stuff we're bringing in. Now we get to the end of the stream and you're saying, oh, there's nothing happening, there's nothing coming in. I mean, which is it? Are we bringing in too much or not enough here?
Yeah, it's been nearly an hour and a half. A lot can change, Michael.
Give me a break. Unbelievable. Look, this time of year traditionally is quieter anyway for new releases from the likes of Perth Mint and things like that, because they're all starting to tool up for 2024. So this is known, and Ruben often complains about this time of year where he says, there's almost no stock available. I know last year he and I got into a bit of an animated discussion about the fact that we couldn't, not only was there no new releases coming out, we couldn't actually order any of the basics. There was just nothing available at all. So this time of year is traditionally fairly quiet along those sort of lines anyway. Having said that, I would argue this year is quieter than normal because things like the quokka and the super pit that we would normally have had coming through in that June, July, August period have been stuck in Treasury and not been released for quite a while. So, yeah, I think it's a fair comment. I think it has been quieter from a releases perspective. I wouldn't agree that it's still been quiet because the likes of Bullion Now, we've been bringing stuff in from overseas. You know, we've had the Tetris, we've had the Star Wars coins, we've had you know, we got accused a few weeks ago of not bringing the basics in anymore. We were bringing in too many fancy things. You know, like we've still, companies like us have still been bringing stuff into Australia and releasing them. So I would disagree with the fact that there's not been anything there, but there's certainly not been those new releases from the Perth Mint for quite a while. And there's only so many times you can clean out the back of the safe. So we haven't had those, oh, wow, look at that. We've got, although having said that, we released 21-ounce gold rabbits to the web a couple of weeks ago. We found those at the back of the safe. There's a couple of other odds and sods have gone in at different times. So, yeah, look, I know I've kind of argued both sides of the argument then, but there has been overseas stuff coming in. There has been a few back of the safes come through. I think we're going to see a rush through to the end of the year into January, February with new releases from the likes of Perth Mint, RAM. You know, PAMP have just released their Lunar Dragon stuff. Somebody else has as well. Is it Dalcambi? Somebody else has just released theirs as well. So we're certainly seeing the uptick in that now.
Oh, very good. And I've also just noticed, I've again, just breaking news coming into my earpiece now. There's also some Buyback 1 ounce silvers that have been put up on the website. So,
oh,
yeah,
wow.
Something else to have a little peek at while you're there cruising around on the website. That's something we haven't seen in a little while up on the site.
If they and I can't say they are because, like I said, I'm being a bit of a mushroom at the moment inside this suitcase. But that was a whole stack of. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rubes. You might know more. That was a whole stack of Kookaburras that came in, wasn't it?
I've just received reports. Not sure. Buybacks, as we know, Michael, it's a bit of a lucky dip. It could be Kookaburras. It could be kangaroos. It could be anything, and the condition could be anything. But you'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so they're just general buybacks, are they? They're not the specific ones that we got in.
I've got no idea. It's a buyback, Michael. You know this better than anyone.
Right.
By the time,
I don't know if this mic is working, but if people can hear me, I believe they're koalas, not kookaburras.
Koalas is the rumor.
Okay.
But anything's possible.
So they may be koalas, they may be kookaburras, or they may be something else. So it really is going to be a lucky dip. But I'd suggest it's at $5 over spot. You know, that's crawl over broken glass to get hold of them territory.
Yeah, nothing to panic over regardless of the outcome. Wait, you said last stream that we were getting some eagles from the US of A.
Yeah. Again, they should be in by now. In fact, I'm not sure they didn't arrive last week. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think last live stream I said they'd just arrived. So the problem is that because of the Sydney conference, we haven't been back in town. And like I said, I'm still stuck in the suitcase. I haven't got back yet. So they might very well be sitting in my office waiting to be processed. So I'd strongly suggest you'll see those hitting the website next week.
Okay, so for all intents and purposes, it is a treasury thing for the minute.
Yeah, that's right. This one's the BN Treasury, not the Australian or the Western Australian Treasury holding it up.
Both function at a similar sort of pace and a similar sense of urgency, unfortunately.
All right, on that note, we should probably wrap it up because we've been here an hour and a half.
It's been a good little session. Are there any more big fives
All right.
other than the elephant coming soon? Last question from the Metal Inquisitor. He's been getting a lot of stage time today. A lot of good questions. Thanks for that.
The short answer is I hope so. I haven't nailed them down yet, but there should be. that answer the question okay?
Yeah, I'll accept it. Mark Twain loves a heckling from Matt.
Yeah.
There's plenty more of where that came from. Yeah, but we should wrap it up.
Not
It's been a huge week.
It has. So thanks everyone for joining in. We do apologise, right, like we did right back at the start, for any technical issues that we've had. We are running on half equipment, not all the equipment. It's still stuck in Sydney with in the suitcase. So again, thanks for Ruben for dragging that together. I know he was pretty stressed out this morning when I was talking to him. Thanks, Matt, for coming on board again, and thanks, Con, who was going to sit in for me if I couldn't manage to tap in, which we did manage, thankfully. But he very manfully stood up and said he would take one for the team and sit in for us. So very much appreciated. We absolutely, and this week has been very, very humbling, going to Sydney and seeing the support that the Bullion Now family gives us. So again, I do this most weeks, but I just want to express how appreciative we are of the Bullion Now family and how they support us, tune in to us, come into our events, support us in the shop, buy our stuff. It is incredibly humbling, and I can't tell you how proud I am of it and how much I love it. So thank you very much for that. Coming next week, we have many new releases coming through over the next week or two, so stand by. I think Matt's right. I think the US Eagles are in stock. There are many things that Adam has been texting me about we need to actually list these things. You need to come and do an unboxing, all that sort of stuff. So stay tuned for that next week. There will be more education coming next week, including, if Ruben can pin me down, the complete review from Matt and I and Ruben on the metal tester that we've hinted at a few times and shown on live stream. All good things like that should be coming next week. So stay tuned, like, share, subscribe, all the good things that we tell you to do every so often. And yeah, the copper bars as well, David. They will be coming in as well, mate. So that's it from me. I will see you all later, and the other two as well if they want to chime in.
Yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. And as Michael, I'll echo that sentiment. Sydney was a blast. It was lovely to meet so many people particularly people that regularly watch this stream. It's nice to actually get physical confirmation from people that they are getting something out of the stream. They enjoy this as a regular part of their week. Hopefully you guys enjoy watching as much as we enjoy putting it together. It can sometimes be a lot of work to pull us all together, but it's well worth it, and Sydney confirmed that in a big way. So thank you very much, and it was lovely to meet so many of the Bullion Now family up there. So already can't wait to do it again.
All right.
And I think Ruben's microphone's broken, so we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
See ya.